Here's Michael Camorn with more Planet Green Trees.
Yeah. All right. I think we're back.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for staying with us. You listen to Planet Green Trees, and it's episode 470, if I understand things. We have Andrew D'Angelo joining us. And also, our next guest, Annie Somerville from Ypsilanti. She's on the city council of Ypsilanti City. She's also
legislative aide to Senator Jeff Irwin,
who is a
friend of the show.
Listens to this show, doesn't admit it in public, but has called in a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He not only admits it in public, but he may have popped up live for an interview at our 420 show.
He did. He was there live. He did. He came out to show the appreciation. That was very nice of him. I was moved and still am by you mentioning that.
Yeah.
So we have Annie Somerville, not to be confused with Annie Get Your Gun or Annie The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. This is Annie Somerville. Thank you for being on the show tonight, Annie. Ypsilanti's a great town. They've been one of the leaders in
Hey, guys, did anybody else got to go in?
Cannabis. Steve, we can hear you.
Steve.
Cannabis.
Steve, no one wants to hear about your dog's peeing.
Reform and relax the prohibition and criminalization of it throughout the MMA. And we appreciate all that. So Ypsilanti is going through a little bit of a crisis on the governance level. Let's discuss that. Then we can talk about cannabis.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to try to describe what happened. Will you please discuss, what the controversy is over and how it came to that the mayor of Ypsilanti is resigning or did resign?
She did.
Okay, go ahead.
Tell us about it.
Tell us how we got here.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm going to correct you because it's Ypsilanti.
It's not Yips. It's not Yips.
Burn.
But yeah. So. Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., the mayor of Ypsilanti resigned after a week-long call from the community to do so. There were some things that took place at our last council meeting where there were some clear displays of racist behavior and ideology at play within decision-making by the mayor. There's a video that kind of went viral on Reddit and other places on the internet. But it really kind of hit the community here pretty hard for a number of reasons. But Ypsilanti's always had a very strong Black history. We were part of the Underground Railroad, and we passed the non-discrimination ordinance a number of years ago. So, our community is diverse. We have a very strong Black leadership here, and so the display that happened at our last council meeting was pretty disheartening to watch. I mean, I was participating in the meeting, and there was basically a comment made that the mayor had only voted for the Black commissioner that she nominated, because if she didn't vote for a Black person, she said she would be crucified. And she was referring to a long history since her time as mayor over the last 2 years almost, where she had decommissioned folks of color, but in particular 2 African-American women who were pretty well-respected members of the community for reasons that, were not great. And then we saw the display of, the racist statement made right before a vote, and she certainly did vote for that person. No other member of council did. And there were a number of requests made by council, all 3 Black council members and myself. And there wasn't really an adequate apology, and there wasn't an apology made to the Black city manager, and everything kind of was right there to see on camera. But folks didn't really find out about it until the next day, until I had just, kind of let folks know that they should watch the council footage from last night, and there were some blatantly racist statements made and a refusal to acknowledge them and apologize adequately, and that this wasn't the first time, that there was a history of this that I had witnessed and others had witnessed over the last year or so. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what happened that called for the resignation. All 6 council members. We called for the resignation on Monday, but Councilmember Nicole Brown and myself actually were the first to publicly ask for her to resign at the Black Lives Matter protest in Ypsi this past Saturday. So there was a lot of pressure from council. I mean, when every single council person asks you to resign, it kind of
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Didn't they protest on Monday, and it turned out in front of her home, Annie? And then she resigned.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I understand there was a protest specifically for that purpose on Monday, and
yeah, there was another. Yep.
Then it led the folks walked in front of her home and protested, from my understanding.
Yeah, there were two separate things that were happening. There was the rally outside of City Hall where all 6 council members publicly called for the resignation of the mayor, and then afterwards the group that were there was probably 100 or so folks. We walked down to Riverside Park and kind of tied the rally up there, and the person who organized that rally and protest was actually separate from the group that was protesting outside of the mayor's home. That happened after that. No council members went to the protest that was in front of her home. But I think it was a combination of pressure from council and the community overall.
And then she submitted her resignation the following morning, is that right?
Yes, she did. The following day, she publicly on Facebook and then also in an email to council.
So what do you think is going to happen from here?
Well, honestly, I think it was a combination of we have a new mayor currently. Our mayor pro tem, Lois Richardson, was sworn in as mayor 2 days ago, and she'll be the mayor until November of this year. The election commission they have a special meeting tomorrow to approve the process to fill the mayoral seat. Ypsilanti is one of 3 communities in Michigan that has partisan local government. So, and also our charter, has it laid out like what happens if there's a vacancy in the mayoral office, but what it doesn't account for is partisan, and also the fact that we're past the filing deadline. So there's some uncertainty still because we're being told, we've been given clear, information from the clerk about what's before the election commission tomorrow. And that process that's up during that meeting that would be approved by them would basically say that per our charter, we elect a mayor pro tem every 2 years. The current mayor who was our mayor pro tem, that term, that role that council elected her for 2 years expires this November at the election. So then after the general election, the first Monday after that, council would appoint a new mayor pro tem. And then by default, that person becomes mayor. And then we fill the mayor pro tem role after that. And then whatever ward vacancy happens is what council will have to fill with an appointment. There is still some question on whether or not the governor could call for a special election. The problem, the main problem that we're running into is just the fact that we're a partisan local government. So you have to give time for not just the 2 parties, any party in the state of Michigan to have candidates file. And an attorney from the Bureau of Elections recommended that we follow the process that I just mentioned, but there is some concern from the community that basically council will get to appoint the next mayor. And, unfortunately, none of us really knew what would happen in terms of a special election. I mean, obviously, we all know that we're past the filing deadline. But this has never happened before in the city of Ypsi, and I'm not sure that it's happened in the other 2 communities where they're partisan. But so it's a little complicated, and I'm hoping by tomorrow, after the election commission meeting, we'll have some additional clarification. But I don't know. This is kind of uncharted territories, but I think ultimately council is finally able to move on and heal because there was a lot of, we really couldn't get far because even though everything kind of blew up last week, there was a buildup of racist behavior happening, at least since my time on council. So no matter what happens, I think we're already in a better spot than we were last week.
The Planet Green Trees Show.